Watching the world burn, watching the world burn. February 8th, 2026. Let's get into it. One little known thing that you probably didn't know is, this was news to me, Utah is going to talking about packing their Supreme Court. Now, Utah is a Republican state, but anytime you go packing your courts just to get the votes that you want, that's not good. That's a Democrat move, but I'm surprised the Republicans are going to use it. I guess they're not getting out of the Supreme Court what they want. So that would be just like, when Congress was in Democrat hands and they wanted to pack our national Supreme Court. And luckily that didn't go through. But that's one piece of news. So a lot of people, we're going to do a reading. We're going to do a sit-down reading on the video here in just a minute. But a lot of the people on X are predicting a bloodbath in the stock market on Monday. Now, temporarily, that should bring down silver and gold prices because people are going to have to sell their silver and gold paper, if they own the Sprots or whatever, SLV or GLD, and convert that to cover the margin calls, if it really does go down like that. So we could see a drop in just about everything. Oh, I did want to task you. I know you're probably watching the Super Bowl. I'm out getting a hike. I'm getting back in shape. I'm doing real good today. I 2 weeks cooped up in the house. I tell you, I don't know how people who don't exercise survive. If I don't get my exercise, number one, I feel like crap. And number two, it's amazing how fast your body goes out of shape. I could have gone to the gym, but anyway, I just like being out like this. So what's the other thing? So silver and gold. Speaking of precious metals, there's a lot of contracts supposedly coming due in March. And a lot of people on X are predicting a nice big rise in silver, gold, and platinum, palladium as a result of those contracts coming due. And there's also people on YouTube talking about the fact that the COMEX and the Shanghai exchanges are still being drained of all their silver and gold, or mainly just silver as far as I can remember. So supplies, physical supplies, are getting very thin from what I can tell. So I think we got a bright future. You know me, I'm a silver bug. What else do we got? I wanted to talk about, in videos in the past, I've always joked that maybe it's invasion of the body snatchers. Because the Trump I elected is not the Trump that's in office right now. And I wonder if there's some sort of mind control or aliens that have invaded Congress and it turned everything satanic. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But it definitely looks like we're going to war with Iran, which seems insane to me. Now, like I said, Iran, we're going to do a reading on this. They've released their attack plans. If anything hits Iran, they're launching everything. So we'll see. And like I said, maybe we got some sort of super weapon that has been developed by the CIA or whoever. And because there's going to be cyber attacks going both ways, from Iran to the United States and from the United States to Iran. Anyway, we can speculate that Iran probably has sleeper cells in the United States that they may activate. I mean, after Biden or the Democrats opened up the border, brought in 350,000 kids so that the Democrats could rape them all, who knows what's in the country? Because everybody was coming in, and that was a good opportunity for anybody that hates the United States to get some sleeper cells into the United States. So we could see some activity. So it should, if it's going to kick off, it'll be, most people are speculating within the next 48 hours, because we're still flying in assets, and most of the attack is going to take place from the land bases in the area. But the problem is, if Iran launches what they say they're going to launch, I'm not sure those bases are going to exist very long. So, and, you know, the Russians and China are helping Iran. So, you know, Iran's going to know when all the planes are taken off and, you know, prepare accordingly. And, you know, if they launch, once those planes are in the air, there might not be landing strips to go back to. Now, one thing that kind of baffled me, but it makes sense in a certain kind of way, was, you know, when we invaded Iraq, we flew all of our carrier planes into Jabber, Kuwait, so they were land-based, okay? They didn't have to fly 1,000 miles because that's where the carriers are parked, about 1,000 miles from Iran. So I've been wondering why those carrier planes aren't going to the land bases so that they, you know, their strike distance would be a lot shorter. But who knows? Maybe they're doing the same calculation that I am, that those bases are going to get hit. So I don't know what Trump's thinking about. I guess, you know, there's all kinds of speculation that this is there was a great episode. I encourage you to watch it. And I'll put the link in the video of how the CIA controls Congress and the presidency. So rather than invasion of the body snatchers, it could be the invasion of the CIA. And man, if you watch that video, CIA is one evil satanic organization. My God, I was learning so much watching this guy. He was a whistleblower from CIA, and they really messed him up, man. They hit him with energy weapons and all kinds of stuff. His wife ended up divorcing him, and his kid's still missing because the kid saw something, you know, because he was high up in the CIA. You definitely got to watch that. You learn a lot about the CIA and how they could be controlling the government. But if it was the CIA controlling the government, why is it in their interest for us to get bloodied with Iran? You know, oh, the other news story that was very interesting, and this it was just a post that I saw, was evidently at huge taxpayer expense, we built a tunnel from Syria into Iraq. And we were going to, I'll read that post to you, but we were going to use that tunnel with the terrorists in Syria to attack the northern Iraq, which sympathized with Iran. So I guess the Iraqis somehow found out about the tunnel. But man, I tell you what, the way our tax money is spent, the other question that I've got, that I got to thinking about this. All right, look at all the weapons we gave to Ukraine. And of course, probably about $400 billion in taxpayer money over the last, couple of years. And then look at all the weapons we've given to Israel, okay? So now, if we're going to attack Iran, how much have we got left? And then once we're done attacking Iran, if we've used up what's left of our arsenal, what's left to defend the United States? You ever thought about that? Riddle me that, Batman. You know, because weapons, you don't have them in infinite supplies. You know, they have to be remade, and most of our manufacturing is gone. So, I don't know, man. This is going to get wild. I guess that's all I can think of for the hiking video. We'll get to sit down and do a reading. I don't really have any videos for you today. I'm trying to think if there's any other news. Well, I'll probably think of something here in a minute. We're on our way to the picnic table where I like making my videos. It's a great hike. Like I said, I'm feeling good. And boy, what a beautiful day it is here in Florida. I feel sorry. I was hearing about the Northeast up there. What is it, like 15 below zero or something like that? Oh my God, I'm so glad I don't live in Michigan no more. I love Florida, man. I love Florida. All right, we'll get to sit down here in just a minute. Oh yeah, I forgot one other thing I wanted to talk about that I can talk about without sitting down to read. Was let's get back to the video studio for just a minute. You know, I try to put a little bit about that each time, and believe you me, I work on it every day. And so I just refreshed the laptop. I had my website set up on the laptop, but it won't take me, because I got the directions now, it won't take me long to rebuild that website. Because what it was when I went to install, there's 5 different browsers that you can use in Linux. Okay, and they all present different advantages and disadvantages. And believe it or not, you want all 5. I mean, you think, what the hell would I do with 5 different browsers? Well, let's get into that right now. So Firefox comes installed by default in Linux Mint. So you don't have to do anything there. All right, the next browser that you want, and hopefully you got it on Windows if you're running Windows, is Brave. Brave is a Chromium-based browser that gives really good web surfing protection. And it's a little lighter than Firefox, so it's a bit faster. And but they're centered on, you know, protecting you from tracking and cookies and all kinds of stuff. That's the advantage of using Brave. So I like to use Brave for certain things. The next browser is well, let's just talk about Google Chrome. All right. Now there's another browser called Chromium that is just strictly for Linux, but you don't want to install that. That's more of a developer's tool. So you want to go with Google Chrome. Now, why do you want Google Chrome? Because you know it's going to spy on you. Well, I want to be able to do interviews with Riverside. Okay, that's a software tool. Or, you know, a lot of people use Steam, or not Steam. What's it called? I can't remember. I'll put it in the video. But they use that. But I want to use Riverside, and it only works really well with Google Chrome. All right, so yeah, I mean, while I'm doing interviews, they'll be spying on me. But anyway, so that's why you want Google Chrome. The next browser that I wanted to talk about was called LibreWolf. LibreWolf. And what LibreWolf is a scaled down, sleek version of Firefox. So whenever Firefox comes out with a new release, LibreWolf comes out with a release a few weeks later. And I guess they take out a lot of the bloat from Firefox, so it's lightning fast, and it's a good quick alternative. And I think it comes with the VPN or you can use the Proton VPN with it. The next browser that you want to install is Opera. Everybody's like, Opera? Man, nobody uses that anymore. Opera is actually still a really good browser, and it comes with the built-in VPN. So you got 2 browser choices for a VPN. Now, I haven't tried it yet to see how that works, but you know, I've got them installed. So what happened was, when I upgrade, okay, so the last browser that you want is a text-based browser, and that's called Lynx, L-Y-N-X. And you say, what's a text-based browser? Well, it'll go up, and you give it a web page, and it'll scan it, and it'll give you all the text off of that web page. So what's really cool about it is that, you know, let's say you got a real good article that you're looking at, and you just want all that text. You just run links, route it to a file, and you got all that text, and then you just edit it and cut and paste, and you know, there you go. You got the article in a Word document or in LibreOffice document, LibreOffice Writer. That's what I use, and so that's another good browser. But I wanted to tell you what happened and why still can't get in there to work on the video studio, because I want all these browsers working in my video studio. All right, so I tried. This is why I had to reload the laptop. I was using the old Linux Mint 22.2 directions to install the browsers, and it just broke. It almost broke the whole laptop. And then I kind of cleaned it up, and I got things working, and I got to thinking about things, and I said, nah, we got to go back and rework all of these. So I went to Grok. I spent 2 days asking, how do you install and configure this browser, that browser, all of those browsers? I asked for directions to see what, if anything, changed. I had to compare what Grok said to what my notes were, and lo and behold, almost every single one of those changed on how I was going to install it. The directions changed. So then, of course, with the laptop, you got to work through those installation steps to make sure they're going to work. And I will tell you this, I ran into some problems with the steps it gave me on a couple of those, mainly on Opera. I had to go back and I said, look, man, this command ain't working, you know. And then Grok came back and says, well, no, you need to do it this way. And you're like, well, why didn't you tell me that the last time I asked you, you know? So Grok is not the be all and end all. It's just, you know, sometimes you got to go at it 3 or 4 times to get the right answer on everything. The other thing that I was thinking about doing, but I'm not going to now, was I was going to use Flatpak. Flatpak is, it will sandbox any application that you install. And what that means is a Flatpak comes down with everything the application needs, and it kind of separates it from the actual operating system and the kernel. It's not integrated, okay? So that if a browser was to get corrupted somehow, it's not going to affect your machine. But upon reflection and talking to Grok, there was really no advantage to Flatpakking any of those browsers. Maybe LibreWolf, you could Flatpak that one. I think I walked past my entrance to the picnic table. That's all right. I can make a left up here and come back in the other way. So, boy, we get to talking. So, anyway, like I said, the book will be coming out probably in the next 3 or 4 months. And you can learn about all of this stuff. You know, like, I just love Linux Mint 22.3. They just keep improving. And I've looked at other flavors and I've watched a million YouTube videos on the advantages and disadvantages of other flavors of Linux. You know, like I used to be a huge fan of Fedora, but I think Linux Mint has gone way past Fedora. And of course, I was a fan of Ubuntu for a while. Still good operating systems, but I just like the look and feel of Linux Mint, and the 22.3 release is really outstanding. All right, we're just about to the picnic table. We'll get the sit-down portion of the video. I hope you don't mind me talking about, I do call myself that cybersecurity guy. I know that you probably tune in for the geopolitics, but we'll get back to that here in just a minute. But oh yeah, and I don't know if I said it already. You better cap off your gas tank, because if we do go to war with Iran, those gas prices are going to go, they're going to go sky high, man. I capped off my gas tank on the way here. So I'm as prepared as I can be. But if we haven't gone to war by tomorrow, on your way to work tomorrow, make sure you cap off that gas tank, because it could save you, you know, depending on the size of your gas tank, you might save $20 or $30 just by capping it off. All right, I see the picnic table coming up. Let's get the sit-down portion of the video, and then I'll hike back to the car. Boy, one of these days, I hope I'm going to be getting in good shape. Let me show you something here. I want you to see this. This is the trail. Let's see, hold on. Give me 1 second. I just want to show this to you. All right, so this trail I've never hiked. There, whoops, sorry, the camera's going all over the place. And that goes down to the river. And I bet it's really pretty when you get there. It's actually a loop, so you come, and it goes all the way around this way. But that adds another 4 miles to the hike, you know, two out and 2 back. And I just don't have the energy to hike that, at least not yet. Today, I'm feeling like I could, but I don't know, man. I was so out of shape the other day, I don't want to risk it. You know, a lot of times you get out here, I'm at the halfway point, and I'm thinking, wow, I'm feeling pretty good. And then on the way back, you're like, oh, please God, just get me to the car, man. please, I just want to get to the car. I want to go home. I want to sit in my chair and drink a beer and watch some TV, man. Please, God, get me to the car. All right, let's get the sit-down portion. All right, let's get the sit-down portion of the video. So this is a person who calls themselves Dana. This is discovery of the American tunnels between Iraq and Syria. Major terrorist operation foiled. The security source in Al-Anbar province. Iraqi forces succeeded in foiling the largest terrorist plot against the northern provinces of this country using secret tunnels from Syrian territory. American forces deliberately concealed a large underground tunnel between Qom-Ishili area in Syria and Erbil province in Iraq. Terrorist elements intended to use this tunnel to carry out widespread attacks against the northern and southern provinces. Iraqi forces discovered the underground routes that were supposed to be used for operations supported by the United States. The mentioned underground routes were designed by American companies at huge costs, which are beyond the financial capacity of ISIS terrorist organization, and cited as research trench. All right, so this was an interesting one. I don't know if you knew, Iran, Russia, and China conduct joint naval exercises. I want to say, is it once a year, I believe? And so they've had this scheduled, and so this exercise is going to be taking place at the same time that we're attacking Iran. So I'll just read this to you. Iran, a flotilla of Russian and Chinese ships is approaching the U.S. fleet. They conduct annual joint exercises in those waters, but this time preparations for maneuvers have been accelerated. And we're not stupid enough to press the button, because we're not going to get hit on the nose and lose at least one ship and all the military families in the region, says the ex-CIA analyst. Retired U.S. Army Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson believes that over the past 2 decades, U.S. naval capabilities have noticeably decreased. Moreover, this happened against the backdrop of the fact that the American main geopolitical opponents had the latest means of destroying aircraft carriers. In this context, the expert pointed out that Russia decided to accelerate the start of the joint exercises with China, with the Chinese fleet, making it clear to Washington that it would not tolerate an attack on Iran. According to Wilkerson, this is what forced Trump to order the aircraft carrier to move away from the shores of the Islamic Republic. Now, my understanding is there's 2 more carrier groups that are heading in. And so we'll have 3 carrier groups over there. And I didn't mention, we also, I don't know if we got a base in India, but I heard something about we're putting forces there. Let's get the next one. I hate the way X always bounces it back to the top. Russia reportedly transferred billions of dollars to Iran amid a dollar shortage engineered by the U.S. to fuel protests. Now, if you didn't know, Bassett, the Treasury Secretary, he was bragging about the fact that we crashed the Iran's currency. So I guess Russia's stepping up to the plate and helping them out as best they can. Just in, Iran unveils Tel Aviv Target Bank mural. Now, I've got to put the picture up. I don't know where this mural is. A new mural in the mural of Palestine Square of Tehran reads, "You start, we finish it," hinting that Israeli attacks, Iran will retaliate, hitting these targets. The Hebrew slogan reads, "In the face of missile showers, this is a small area," signaling Israel's geographic vulnerability amid escalation. Note, I do not think these are actual targets, but rather symbolic markings. But it was interesting that they put that out. All right, we got the ships. Okay, here's the one I was talking about. So this is Ox Nobler, but this is just one post that I gathered. There's a bunch of people posting about this. So, warning, tomorrow will be the worst day for markets in 2026. Insider selling is accelerating. I monitor insider activity every single day, and the disconnect right now is wild. People have no idea what's coming. Here's the shocking truth no one's telling you. Out of the top 120 insider trades in the last few days, every single one was a sell. 127 sells, 0 buys. Think about that for a second. The people with the deepest access and the best data want nothing to do with the market right now. Meanwhile, they're out here saying the economy is strong while quietly unloading everything. Everything cracked at the same time. Bitcoin dumped to 60K. Silver dropped to 65. Gold dropped to 4650. Stocks fell hard, especially tech. Housing is rolling over slowly, quietly. Yes, there was a slight bounce, but right now buyers are just being used as exit liquidity. Insiders are choosing capital preservation over upside, and that's the mindset likely last in 2026. Based on what I'm seeing right now, we're heading straight into a global collapse. If you're stressed, it's probably because you're too exposed. Those have been in positioning for months for this once-in-a-decade opportunity. I am saying to liquidate everything? No. But being fully all in right now, especially in stocks, makes no sense when valuations are at historic extremes. I continue tracking insider behavior and sharing updates in real time. When I start deploying serious capital, you'll hear it here first. All right, so this guy, Ox Nobler, sounds like he knows what he's talking about. He's saying that we're going to have a crash tomorrow. So we'll see. Now, kind of depressing for me is I am all in. I went in, I bought the mining stocks. I'm all in on the mining stocks and the Sprott ETFs. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. I don't think the miners will get hit as hard as probably the tech stocks or even the big, like Tesla or those. But we'll see what happens tomorrow. You never know about these people on X, their predictions. So Russia launches a large-scale retaliatory strikes on Ukraine. The new wave of Russian attacks comes after Ukrainian strikes severely damaged energy infrastructure in the border Belgorod region. Russia struck for the first time the western Ukraine 750 kilovolt substation, the largest in Europe, which is the centerpiece of the regional power grid and handles electricity imports from abroad. Prime Minister Shimygal said emergency blackout schedules have been applied nationwide and nuclear power plant units temporarily unloaded to stabilize the system. He added that Kiev has requested emergency power assistance from Poland. Don't poke the bear if you don't have a stick. So, thought that was interesting. That's the first I'd heard about this big strike. Well, not really. I was on the Military Summary channel. They were talking about the fact they struck, but this is a post from Alex Jones. And I don't know where he got this information, but Shabana Mahmoud is set to become the first Muslim prime minister of the United Kingdom if Keir Starmer resigns over the Epstein fallout. The UK has been conquered, and a shot didn't even have to be conquered. That's what he meant. He misspelled it. And a shot didn't even have to be fired. Now 2 Islamic nations have nuclear weapons that can strike anywhere on Earth. The United States must intervene. The Reconquista of the West must commence again. The Reconquista, 718 to 1492, was the 700-plus year series of campaigns by Christian kingdoms to reclaim the Iberian Peninsula from Muslim Moors' rule. Starting after the 711 invasion, it saw shifting borders, religious fervor, and culminated in the 1492 fall of Granada, unifying Spain under Catholic monarchs. So that was an interesting post from Alex Jones. So it looks like UK is going full Muslim. They brought a bunch of them in. Oh yeah, this is the one about the Indian Ocean. I got this one. This is good. Chinese satellites reveal the U.S. preparing its key Indian Ocean bomber base for operations against Iran. So Indian Ocean. Okay, I thought it meant India. Mirzar Vision imagery shows a missile destroyer docked at Diego Garcia as the buildup continues. The Arleigh Burke-class destroyer is an advanced U.S. Navy ship equipped with Agnes combat system, powerful air defense missiles, and Tomahawk cruise missiles. It is designed for a multi-role operations against air, surface, and missile threats. So that was interesting. This was the one I was talking about. So this is so Iran has prepared a large-scale plan to counter the U.S. armed forces and pressure on global economy. According to the Tasnim agency affiliated with the IRGC, within a few hours after a possible U.S. attack, Iran will launch massive strikes with ballistic missiles and drones on U.S. military facilities throughout the region, expanding the conflict zone beyond its borders. Tehran also relies on its cyber war capabilities, attacks on U.S. logistics disruptions in the command and control systems, and creating chaos among countries hosting U.S. forces. The IRGC's naval forces have been practicing the swarm tactic, attacks by small boats equipped with missiles and torpedoes to overload and surpass large warships. Blocking the Strait of Hormuz could lead to an increase in oil prices above $200 per barrel, which would cause serious damage to the global economy and increase pressure on Washington. Hassan, sorry, I'm not even going to try to pronounce, I'll try it. Sariatamadari, stated that Iran could block the passage of American, French, British, and German ships through the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's strategic goal is to create an unstable, multi-front confrontation for U.S. forces, forcing American forces to simultaneously face pressure in Lebanon, Yemen, Iraq, and potentially in Syria, while protecting its allies in the Persian Gulf and ensuring the safety of sea routes. Now, there's been a lot of talk that Iran has coordinated with Hezbollah, Yemen, and Iraq, and I guess maybe some forces in Syria, and they're all going to attack at the same time. So it's going to be a regional war. You know, mainly U.S. and Iran, U.S. and Israel against the entire Middle East. So we'll see how that goes. I think it's going to get very, very bloody. We're going to have a lot of body bags coming back, unless we got some super weapon. I keep saying that. Maybe there's some super weapon we don't know about. Let's get one more. That's the Iran. A new article. Yeah, I wanted to put this in. This is pretty cool. A new article that's over. How China's anti-stealth radar and missiles have ended U.S. military dominance. The U.S. military stealth bombers and fighters are no longer invisible, and China handed over the breakthrough VHF radar systems to Iran. This is a cool one. I put this video in. I forgot about this one. The F-35 is now obsolete. China's new jet leaves the U.S. no chance. The Chengdu, CHENGDU, J-36, a sixth-generation fighter bomber, represents a radical fusion of bomber-like endurance and fighter-like performance engineered for deep strikes. Its most jarring feature is a triple-engine configuration, a rare choice that analysts link to extreme speed and payload goals. Unlike most fighters, the J-36 appears built for sustained supercruise, supersonic flight without fuel-guzzling afterburners, with a projected top speed potentially reaching Mach 2.5. This enables rapid penetration into contested airspace, outpacing current fifth-generation jets. The design underscores a strategic pivot. The cockpit features side-by-side bomber-style seating, ideal for long-range missions and complex battle management. It has multiple internal weapons bays, allowing it to carry heavy, long-range cruise missiles while maintaining a stealth profile. This positions the J-36 less as a traditional dogfighter and more of a long-range command and strike node, designed to cripple enemy networks from afar. As the global market for sixth-generation fighter jets experiences a boom, the J-36 highlights China's intention to lead the technological leap forward by solving the problems of efficiency, fuel management, speed, and stealth problems that the U.S. has not yet found a solution for. Will the U.S. ever match China's success? No, not because we never will, because the F-35 is a piece of shit, and all the defense contractors care about is profit. They don't care whether we get a good fighter or not. Like I said, that's all they're about. Oh yeah, this is one. We'll do one more, and because I just like this video, I'll put it in. We'll do a repeat on this one. Just in, China preparing to transfer low-cost, high-energy shipborne and mobile laser weapon system called the LY-1, Liaoyan-1 to Iran against U.S. weapons. Chinese LY-1 laser system could usually destroy Apache helicopters, Chinooks, and drones, and possibly fighter jets. And we'll put that video right here at the end. If I think of something on the way back, we'll add to the video. Peace out. Stay free. All right, so I did get some more news for on the way back. Iran is moving their missiles, so a lot of their missiles east, according to Israel intelligence, to make them harder to hit. So, because that would be a longer shot, and we only have so many missiles that will hit them at that range. So, so you can see they're preparing for war, most definitely. And then the other thing was the estimate that was in the release. Israel says that Iran is close to getting 2,000 missiles. That doesn't even talk about their drones, man. Oh, this is going to be one hell of a regional war. World War III, baby, is going to be kicking off big time, and it's going to get bloody, real bloody. Glad I'm not in the military right now, I can tell you that right now. If this video hasn't gotten too long, you know, I'll check it. There's a video I've been meaning to put. It was actually made back in January, and it was RFK sitting down with, I don't recognize the host, and it's about 15 minutes long, and it talks about BRICS. And as of January, there were 22 nations in BRICS, according to the video. So it might be even more now, you know, because we're what, a couple, well, not that far away. It's only been about a month. I keep thinking it's March for some reason. My brain don't work no more. So if I can, I'll put that on the end of the video here. If not, then we'll try to get some other news on the way back.
I personally don't think enough people understand what BRICS is. So BRICS is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa.
Argentina is now part of it.
Last time I checked, I think it was 22.
Yeah.
At least 22 countries are now part of it, and the whole premise is to destabilize.
It's to get off the American dollar, get off dependence, because what we've done is we've used the power of the dollar as a military tool. And we've used it, for example, we're using it against Iran now, but we've used it against Russia, you know, and we hold people's money because their money is basically, their Fort Knox is the United States, is you know, our central banks. And so when they do something bad and we then shut off their cash, and countries are just saying, we're not going to do that anymore. We're not going to use petrodollars anymore. We're going to shift to our own currencies, or we're going to create a global currency, which is one of the things they're trying to do with BRICS. And we're going to get off the American dollar to take the power away from America. And that, if that happens, the U.S. economy will go into a free fall. So, and you know, it's already happening. The question is, how fast is it going to happen, and are we going to be able to put safeguards in place to avoid a massive depression that could make the Great Depression look like a cakewalk?
You had mentioned Iraq is now a proxy to Iran.
We have. I just added that. We have a $34 trillion debt right now. The service on that debt, the cost of servicing that debt is now bigger than our military budget. It's about $1 billion a year. And within 5 years, 50 cents out of every dollar that we collect in taxes is going to go to servicing the debt. Within 10 years, 100%. And that's if interest rates don't rise. If interest rates rise, that happens much faster. So we added another $1 trillion to the debt in the last 100 days. President Biden and President Trump are the guys who are most responsible for that. President Trump, during his 4 years, added $8 trillion to the debt. That's more money than was spent by every administration from George Washington to George W. Bush. Every administration before him, 283 years of history, he spent more in 4 years. And then he shut down all the businesses at the same time. So, and then Biden continued those policies, the lockdowns, and then, and this, absurd spending, which is unsustainable. And neither of them are talking about it. And we need to start talking about it. And we need to, the big problem with the debt is the chronic disease epidemic, which is now costing us $4.3 trillion a year, which is 5 times our military budget. And then the military budget. military budget is about $890 billion. But if you include the cost of the wars, which is, 300 billion in veterans administration, and then all the national security costs, it's about 1.3 trillion a year. And we have to cut that. We can no longer afford to be the policemen of the world. It's not helping us, it's hurting us in every way.
Can you go into a little detail on who we owe the debt to? Who
A
do
lot
we
of
owe
the debt
that
is
to?
owned by China. A lot of it is owned by Japan. They're in as much trouble as we are because, they don't want that debt to crash either. But China is now switching away from the dollar. And, they're all trying to get away from the bomb, to get out of the splatter zone before the bomb goes off. A lot of the debt is just to U.S. investors and banks and, investment houses who have purchased U.S. bonds. I mean, I own a certain amount of bonds, treasury bonds, right? And that I bought some of them after I won I was part of the team that won the Monsanto case, and I got a little bit of cash, and I put some of that in bonds. So some of that debt is owed to me. So but I think the biggest creditor is China.
You had mentioned Iraq is becoming a proxy to Iran. I'm a former special ops guy, spent a lot of time in Iraq, a lot of time in Afghanistan, and so I have a lot of ties within that community still. And I've heard rumors that we will be going back to Iraq already because of the stuff going on in Israel, Iran getting involved. I mean, it was, I don't think it was ever stabilized. But do you have any insight on that?
No, I mean,
we're sending our guys back into another country where we've abandoned lots of weapons.
Listen, we have 800 bases around the world. China has one base. Russia has 1.5. We have 800, and each one of them is, an opportunity for a new little war. And of course, you have, the big military contractors, Northrop Grumman and Boeing and Lockheed and General Dynamics and, these others. They're all owned by one company, which is BlackRock. And BlackRock has the contracts to destroy Ukraine, and it has the contract to rebuild Ukraine. So, and it's one of the biggest owners of the Republican and Democratic Party. And the Ukraine war is really about the expansion of NATO. We wanted to put NATO and President Putin and every president before him have said that's a red line. You can't put NATO in Ukraine. The Russians have been invaded 3 times through Ukraine. Last time, Hitler killed 1 out of every 7 Russians. We've never experienced an invasion like that. Russians haven't. Everybody remembers it. And they don't want a foreign enemy army in Ukraine. And particularly, they don't want an army with nuclear weapons. And, we have put nuclear-ready systems, these Aegis missile systems that Lockheed makes in Romania and Poland, so we made those NATO country. Why do we want to go into NATO? Here's one of the reasons. Why do we want every country in Europe? We promised in 1992, when Gorbachev said, I'm going to remove the walls in Europe. I'm going to allow you, the West, to reunite Germany under NATO, and I'm going to move out 450,000 Soviet troops from Germany, from East Germany, and I'm going to allow you to march NATO soldiers into their barracks. Okay, he could never go back to Russia after that. He went back, but he was despised. Nobody went to his funeral, but he did it because he wanted to end the Cold War. But he said, I want one promise from you before I do this. He said this to James Baker, to President Bush at that time, and to John Major. He said, I want one promise, which is after I give you Germany, you cannot move NATO you cannot move NATO to the east into all the other countries we're going to march out of. And James Baker, who was the Secretary of State, famously told Gorbachev, we will not move NATO 1 inch to the east. And in 1997, Zbigniew Brzezinski, who was the first of the neocons, says, okay, here's a plan. He publishes a plan for moving NATO into every former Soviet territory. And people go crazy at that time. George Kennan, who is the most important diplomat in modern American history, who was the architect of the containment policy during the Cold War, he said, if you do that, you're going to turn Russia into an enemy. You should be treating it as a friend. You should be welcoming it to the global community and using it as a bulwark against Chinese expansion. Kissinger said that. George Kennan said that. George Kennan said, if you do this, you're going to force Russia into a violent response. Bill Pierce, who was then the Secretary of Defense, threatened to resign to Clinton. He said, if you do this, I'm going to resign. It's so destabilizing to move NATO to the east. Bill Perry, who was then, and Bill Pierce is now the head of the CIA. Bill Perry, who was then the U.S. ambassador to the Soviet Union, said the same thing. He said, you're forcing Russia into ultimately a violent response if you keep moving NATO to the east. What do? We did it anyway. Why do we want to move NATO to the east? There's all kinds of geopolitical reasons that the neocons want to drive because they like conflict. But, the big reason is that when a new country signs onto NATO, it has to then change all of its weapons specifications, weapons purchases to NATO specifications, which means it has to buy all of its weapons from Lockheed, Boeing, General Dynamics, and Northrop Grumman, and the U.S. military contractors that are all owned by BlackRock. So there's this economic imperative to drive NATO into all of these new countries. And, Putin said again and again, if you go in there, we are going to have to fight back. What do? In 2014, the CIA goes in with USAID and overthrows the elected government of Ukraine. And we put in a Western government. The Undersecretary of State, Victoria Nuland, who's the top neocon at that time, we now have a tape of her talking to the U.S. ambassador a month before the coup, handpicking the cabinet that would replace the neutral government with a pro-Western government. So then we go in there, we overthrow their elected government. We put in a government that's sympathetic to us. Putin immediately says, oh, well, now they're going to put the U.S. fleet in Vladivostok, which was Russia's for 340 years, their only southern port. That's where the Soviet fleet is, which is in Crimea. And he says, so he said, if you do this, we're going to go into Crimea. He goes in Crimea. He doesn't fire a shot because the people of Crimea have always wanted to be back with Russia. They voted 90-10 to go back to Russia. And then he says, and then there's a revolution. This new government comes in and basically illegalizes the Russian language. There used to be two languages in Ukraine, Russian and Ukrainian. Now they say, no, the official language is now Ukrainian. You can't speak Russian. We don't teach it in the schools, etc. And they begin enacting these other oppressive mandates against the Russian, ethnic Russians in Donbass. And so there are protests in Donbass. Those protests turn violent. And, the question is, why do they turn violent? The assumption is there's right-wingers in the new government that we put in who kill 14,000 people from Donbass and Lugansk. And so Putin says, look, I'm going to go in there. Donbass and Lugansk vote to join Russia, the Russian Federation. Putin says, I don't want you. You stay with Ukraine, but here's a proposal. And he gives what is called the Minsk Accords, which Germany approves of, France approves of, and UK approve of. And the Minsk Accords say, we're going to keep NATO out of Ukraine. We're going to give Donbass and Lugansk autonomy, just like Montreal, Quebec, part of Canada. You'll still be part of Ukraine, but you'll be able to keep the Russian language. And then he also asked to denazify some of denazify the new government that we had put in to remove some of the extreme right wingers. And all of these nations approve of this agreement. And Zelensky runs in 2019, and he's an actor and a comedian, no political involvement at all. He runs on one issue. I'm going to sign the Minsk Accords, and there's going to be peace with Russia. He wins 70% of the vote. So, overwhelmingly, the people wanted peace. They wanted that agreement. Suddenly, he gets in office and he pivots, and he says, I'm not going to sign it. Why did that happen? There's two assumptions. We don't know, but there's two assumptions. One, he was threatened by right-wingers within his own government. Two, the United States, Victoria Nuland, told him he couldn't sign it. So Putin then sends in 40,000 troops.
No matter where you're watching the Sean Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this at all, anything, please like, comment, and subscribe. And most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, head to Apple Podcasts and Spotify and leave us a review.